but it's a good conference that they play in, and it's going to be a challenge for us to step up and play these guys. They're used to winning, and they're pretty good. Offensively, they lost their back from last year, which is which is a good thing for us. This dude had Terrence West. He had 2,500 yards last year. They kind of missed him on last Saturday. But they're a team, you know, they got an experienced quarterback. The starter that they had last year was a fifth-year senior who won a bunch of games for them. But this guy's been in the program for 3 years, Darius Victor. Connor Frazier, who does a good job of running their system. They've been running the same system for quite some time. Rob Ambrose has been there for, I think, 6-7 years, has built the program, was at UConn prior to that as the offensive coordinator, so he's familiar with West Virginia. Was a player at Towson, so it means a lot to him to get the program going, and it's obviously going in the right direction. Replaced a lot of offensive linemen. I think all 5 of their offensive linemen and their tight ends are gone from last year. They got all their skill back but that running back. So they got a lot of guys that are a little bit undersized but quick. A lot of guys that can run, got good overall team speed. Will be multiple with what they do offensively. They'll run the quarterback, getting 1-back sets, 2-back sets, and try to do a bunch of multiple things. Defensively, they got 6 returning starters back. The thing that stands out about them is their front. Their front's big and enormous. Their best guys, the defensive end, number 56. Dude can come off the edge. He had 2 or 3 sacks last week. He had 15 or 16 sacks last year. He was their best player last year, and does a great job of getting to the quarterback. They're pretty basic. You know, the base out of a 4-3 front, get into an odd front at times, but not incredibly multiple with their fronts and their coverages. They just try to keep things in front of them and tackle well, which they did a good job of that last year. Special teams, the thing that stands out is their return guy, Derek Joseph, number 2, 5'8", 145 is what they list him at. That dude's quick as a cat now, and he does a good job in both the kick returns. So much like it was last week for us, challenge to make sure that we keep those guys under control. So fired up about getting started. So I'll take some questions.
After reviewing the film from Alabama offensively, what do you like about what you guys did, and what do you want to see change for week 2?
Well, the biggest thing from last week that we were happy with on all 3 sides of the ball, our excitement level to play the game was off the charts. Our energy throughout the course of the game was at an all-time high. The effort that our guys played with was exactly what we want. You know, told them Sunday, you know, that they set the standard, they set the bar for how they need to play all year. And if we can get those guys to play with that kind of effort, with that kind of energy and that kind of excitement, then we're going to have a good year. There's a lot of things that we need to correct, as everybody does in game 1. You know, there's a lot of assignment stuff, there's a lot of technique stuff, but the thing that that stood out, which is a positive, is how we played. You know, not necessarily what the result were, and there's lots of things we need to work on, but how we played I was very happy with, and if we can play like that all year, then we'll win a bunch of games.
Is there a parallel to that you mentioned the other day about Oklahoma, and you essentially did the same thing against Oklahoma and then did nothing the rest of the year? Is that a contributing factor to that?
I'd disagree with that, because there was other issues. That was a sloppy game. I don't think this game on Saturday night was a sloppy game. You know, you're looking at 1 turnover, very few penalties. You know, pretty good execution on both sides. The difference in the game was 3rd downs. I mean, offensively, 3rd downs, we didn't execute, and they did. But other than that, I thought it was it wasn't a sloppy game. Last year against Oklahoma, that was a sloppy game. You know, so we had issues with energy, we had issues with excitement, we had issues with effort during that game, and throughout the course of the year, you know, it was spotty. It was spotty. I didn't see that on Saturday night.
Dana, when you see what North Dakota State did to Iowa State, how challenging are some of these FCS teams?
Well, Virginia Tech knows James Madison beat them. Delaware knows Navy beat them. Villanova knows. Temple, they beat Temple. They should have beat Syracuse. I mean, that was a double overtime game. The list goes on and on. William and Mary almost beat Maryland last year. There's lots and lots of examples, which I got them all written down, and I make sure our team's aware of it. It happens every year. It probably happened last week. I don't have the sheet in front of me. I know there were some close games. I know North Dakota State obviously is the one everybody talks about, but other than that, there's probably 2 or 3 one-point wins here and there. So yeah, we'll talk about that. I mean, you got to respect your opponent.
Some of the trouble on third down defensively was just missing on blitzes you came clean on. Is that, I know mobile quarterback, but is that something that you can practice, or does that take care of itself a little bit?
Yeah, it's the speed of the game. We didn't turn loose our guys on blitzes that knock our quarterbacks out during practice. I mean, that's just something that you can't duplicate. So we'll get that cleaned up. I mean, he was elusive. He did a good job, but we're going to play quarterbacks that are elusive. We're going to play guys that are athletic. We have to do a better job when we get there. I thought Coach Gibson called a good game. I really do. And our pass rush issues still exist, but I viewed them as better schematically, getting guys there free. And when we get there, you gotta pull the trigger. We had some guys that just missed. So, offensively, it's kind of the we had some drop balls on third downs. Those are critical situations. I mean, there's 2 or 3 times that I should have called better plays. 2 or 3 third downs that Coach Gibson would have liked to have called something different. I mean, we're not pointing the finger at one thing or another, but those things kind of stand out. Yeah.
The 29 tackles between 2 players defensively. Obviously, 2 really big games from those guys. Is it just a product of the way Alabama was playing, or do you like seeing things like that 2 guys are so involved, or do you want to see it a little more balanced? And
I was happy with. They threw the ball to number 9 a good bit. So who was covering him? Darrell. I thought Darrell held his own. I mean, he got beat a couple of times and missed a couple of tackles. Well, he's young and he's going to continue to get better, and he was around the ball. Carl was around the ball a lot. Part of it was him being down more than last year, being back. We've made the decision to move him down a lot more, so he's going to be around the ball more. Part of their they kind of went to his side a good bit, so I was happy with what he was. We needed Kwiatkowski had a bunch of tackles, was around the ball a bunch. Wes Tonkery was around the ball a bunch. We need some of those other guys to get around the ball a little bit more too. Some of those guys got stuck on blocks.
Your rush defense gave up some yards, but obviously it was Alabama. Were you happy with your rush defense, or was it just Alabama?
Yeah, I thought it was decent. I thought it was decent. They what we weren't happy with was what they did in the passing game. I mean, he did a decent job of taking care of the ball. We needed to get there quicker, which we didn't. But our rushing defense, we gave up some yards, but man, I mean, those backs are pretty good. I thought we kept it in check a little bit, and they got loose on us a couple of times, that kind of wore us down, which that's just what they've done. That's what they do to everybody, So last year Oklahoma got loose on us late and put up a pretty big number. I didn't see the same thing there. I thought we held our own. They're going to get their yards. They're big up front. Their scheme is good. Their backs are great. So.
Explain why third down is different. Almost like it's like in baseball, where this 8th inning and 9th inning pitching is different than in the 3rd inning.
It's a critical situation, and good teams are good in critical situations. If you look at championship teams, they're good in critical situations. I've talked about critical situations a lot: 3rd downs, 4th downs, score zone. The end of the half, the end of the game. I mean, those are critical situations, and good teams are good in those situations. good players are good in those situations. So, you know, we did well in the first half, you know, making some plays on third downs. They probably made a few more plays than we did on third downs in the second half offensively. That's just when guys got to rise up and make plays. Good players, just good players. I mean, good players are good in key situations. You know, the bigger the game, the bigger the player. You know, so, you know, they got a bunch of guys that are good in key situations. I think we are getting closer. I think we're getting closer. I thought Clint was great on third downs. I thought he was great on third downs. So, you know, I thought our O-line did a good job on third downs. A couple of third and shorts, we ran it right up, you know, right up the middle and got the first downs, you know. Some of the longer yardage situations, I thought our plan was good. Just got to make the play.
Were you shocked by the Alabama's time of possession compared to ours? Maybe the number of plays that they actually ran were better than ours. Did that kind of shock you a bit?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think what's more alarming than that is the amount of plays that they had as opposed to the amount of plays that we had. And the amount of plays that we had, I thought, was good for the amount of possessions that we had, for the exception of the fourth quarter. You know, we 3-and-outed twice, and both of them were in the fourth quarter. You know, so that's our fourth quarter offensively was bad. You know, the first 3 quarters when we had the ball, we had sustained drives. You know, didn't finish very good, but we had sustained drives. Our plan was to go fast. We felt like we had to, and that was on purpose, and I thought we executed it well. Didn't finish very good, and we all would have liked to have had a couple of touchdowns in the score zone. You know, but you know, their time of possession, that's what they do to everybody. I mean, they're gonna go slow, and they're gonna grind you out, and they're gonna be good on third downs. If we don't like the number of plays that they had, then when it's third down, we need to stop them, and then we get off the field, and then we get the number of plays, and they don't. So you know, time of possession is not alarming to me. The inefficiency on third down is alarming to me, and the overall number of plays is alarming to me. That's just what they do. That's why they are who they are.
Dana, how did your offensive line grade out, more specifically Mark Lewinsky? What type of a future do you feel like he has in the game?
You know, I thought all 5 linemen played well. I thought we played better in the first half. We came out and played nasty. I mean, we had like 7 knockdowns. I mean, we were taking some of those guys and driving them into the ground. Second half, they got challenged a little bit, and you know, we didn't have that production in the second half. Last been said about our run game, you know, lack of run game. You know, some of it has to do with those guys getting off blocks, making plays. You know, and they did a better job of that in the second half than they did in the first half. Mark and Quentin both played well. Tyler Orlowski was solid, other than the one snap where he got spooked. And then the tackles I thought held up, which that was one of the concerns that we had going into the game. So they played well. They set the bar what they need to play like, and we're looking forward to seeing if they can do it again next week.
You said a couple times, as did the players, that there's no such thing as a moral victory, and I'm guessing you would say there's no such thing as a good loss either, but there are bad losses. Do you think the guys came out of this game feeling maybe a little better about themselves than they did going in?
Well, they came out determined is what they came out. They were disappointed. Coaches were disappointed. Players were disappointed. You know, I wanted it for the fan base really bad. They're disappointed. But you know, are you disappointed? And the whole moral victory thing is if we're after moral victories, pats on the back, then we accomplished our goal. If we want to win a championship, which is what we talk about, then the determination needs to translate into a victory the next time we line up. So, what I sense, and we'll find out Saturday, but what I sense is a group that's disappointed, but have put it behind them and determined to move forward to, you know, work hard this week to put ourselves in position to win.
When it comes to the run game, I know after, I think both you and Shannon said that those short passes, you use them like runs, so maybe the rushing yards, the rushing stats won't be there. Looking back at the film, were those the right calls? I mean, did you feel like that was what you guys had to do, or are you satisfied with I guess the number of times you went to the run?
Yeah, they're hard to run against. I mean, we had about 50 yards in the first half. Some of the, we pulled it and kind of threw the screen passes, which, technically is a run play. A couple of those plays downfield were run plays, and we just pulled it and threw it down that way. So, it wasn't a winning performance, but it's hard to line up an average 5-6 yards of play against those guys in the run game. I mean, they're big. They got great depth. I mean, they played 12 D linemen. They got great depth. They get off blocks. So we could have probably called a few more run plays, but I was happy with what it was. It opened up some of the pass game numbers.
How do you change drop passes from one week to the next?
You got to work at it. I mean, it hasn't been an issue. I haven't made a big deal about it. It has not been an issue. I think that the same way we make better calls in certain situations. We focus on it. We work at it, and we have confidence that things are going to work out, and we go out there and we expect them to happen. One of the reasons why these guys, Alabama expects good things to happen. They've won a lot of games. How many games have they lost in 5 years? So they expect things like that to happen. So it's our job as coaches to get our players to expect good things to happen, give them confidence, put people out there that we know can make the play.
Do you need to play many more players, a lot more players, or was 53 a good number?
Number of players?
Offense and defense.
I don't understand.
Did you play enough guys?
Play enough guys. Our overall number was 56, 57. That's a healthy number. I mean, you consider you're traveling 70. We'll 5 linemen. Our backups, they're not going to play. So some of the guys are redshirting. So I think that's a very healthy number. I think 55 is kind of what you're shooting for.
What about Xavier Preston getting into the game?
Yeah, he took one snap. He had a hell of a tackle. It was just in the end zone, so it counted as a touchdown. It looked like he had good pop. He butted the guy up. He will continue to get more reps. He's going to be a good player.
How'd you feel Draymond Henry graded out?
Good. Was a step slow at stuff. I mean, what I'm looking at is number 26 for Alabama, who's an All-American and a third-year starter. Watching him, he's quicker reaction-wise. He's got a little bit more pop. Drayvon had a good game. He played well. He was a little bit out of position at times. He was a step slow at times, and he didn't have as much pop. But the good news is what I looked at is from Alabama's number 26 is probably what we're going to see out of our number 6 here in the near future.
Same thing for Worley. Obviously, was tested a bunch after the game. I mean, he seemed as upbeat as he could have been. But what have you seen from him since then?
Number 9 for them might be the first pick in the draft. I mean, he was a really good player, and he got his. I mean, he caught the ball, he got open. Darryl held his own. Darryl's going to be a great player for us.
The D-line seemed to get some pressure early, and even at other times during the game.
I disagree with that, but
he's pretty elusive. Was that the situation? We just couldn't get him, or?
Well, we need more pressure from our D-line. We need more pressure from our D-line. He was more elusive than I thought he was, and did a good job of getting away from stuff. What's more concerning to me is getting some of our more skilled guys, backers, safeties, to where they can get there and they didn't finish the play. That's alarming to me because we're going to face guys that are elusive.
Did they play more zone than you expected them to?
No, it was about what we thought. Yeah, I mean, they've been doing the same thing defensively for 5, 6, 7 years, So, I mean, we were prepared for what they did. Good teams on defense don't have to do a whole bunch of stuff. They just beat you with technique.
It seems, listening to what you and maybe Giovanna said about Russell, is that maybe the way he runs routes or catches passes has been kind of a surprise, maybe because he's so big or whatever. But I guess maybe with Saturday, kind of like the vision for him, line him up, he can go, but he can also carry it banging inside, and kind of a developing thing with him.
Yeah, if you really paid attention to what we do, I mean, regardless if we're 1 back or 2 back, those guys, might be in protection, but they may be in the routes as well. So the guys that become better receivers, that's why Wendell's role is so big, because he can get involved in the passing game with whatever we want him to do. You know, Russell's not there yet, but is pleasantly. That's why he's playing as much as he is, because he's able to run with authority, as we know he can. He's able to pass protect because he's physical, and then the surprising thing is he can get out into the flats, catch a ball, make a guy miss, run a guy over, and get an explosive play. I think we're all excited about seeing that.
Is Isaiah Bruce healthy, or was that just a...
Yeah, he did a good job on special teams. You know, we thought that Golson, Kwiatkowski, and Tonkery had phenomenal camps. You know, and they played a bunch of snaps, and they played pretty good. You know, so you know, we've talked with Isaiah. If he wants to see the field more, then he needs to show us that he's ready to step up and see the field. That goes with all backups. I mean, that's, you know, right now you know who the backups are. It's their job to compete and show us that they can play more. Man, we get none. So we came out really healthy. There's nobody that's in a green jersey that was not prior in a green jersey.
Similar with Shorts as Bruce.
Yes, Squirt had a good camp, and made some. The one catch was off the charts. Made a couple of really good plays, and then had a chance. Wow, the hell did that? Was that this thing?
Yeah.
Wow, what are you doing up here, Mike? What were we talking about?
Towson.
Squirt. Yeah. Made some great catches, and then, you know, had a chance to make some huge catches and didn't. Evaluated DeKeel as well. DeKeel is the next guy in. Played a good bit, and we'll continue to do so.
Clint shoulder after the game, day after, felt great.
He's fun. Played good, and he's fun.